Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video I did with Justin Thomas, the one and only Justin Thomas. Before we get into this video, I just wanted to talk to you guys about my favorite telemarketing lead company, and that is Lead Heroes. Guys, Lead Heroes has got you covered when it comes to final expense leads, Medicare supplement leads, turning 65 leads. They just have something for everybody, whether it be real-time leads, live transfers, custom calling campaigns, where you can pay one of their trained and expertise telemarketers by the hour to call for you for whatever you might envision that looking like. Guys, just because you watch this video today, Lead Heroes is going to give you 10% off any order you make on their website. The link to their website can be found down in the description of this video along with the coupon code. Thanks for watching. What's up, guys? Hey, this is Christian Brindle with Six Figure Medicare Agent. Hope this video finds you doing well. And we're back with another video. Guys, I have a guest that is long overdue that I've had the chance to talk to. And he's somebody that, I've watched from afar for quite some time, and someone I've got a ton of respect for, somebody that has really made a huge imprint in the insurance world and just kind of like the digital marketing, social media marketing world in general. Like, he's a wizard with the stuff. I have Justin Thomas here with me today. Justin, how are you?
I'm doing really good, man. Thanks. I seriously appreciate the introduction and just excited. It's long overdue, just like you said, for you talking to me, but same with me connecting with you. So I'm just extremely excited for our conversation today.
I'm really excited about it. I've been looking forward to it all week. And so I guess to start off, for anybody that's not familiar with you, if they live under a rock, right? If they're in the insurance industry and they live under a rock and they're maybe not familiar with you and your work and what you do, talk a little bit about you, your company, and what it is that you do for agents.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been around for 3 years, and what we do, we really started off with like the final expense niche only. And since then we've grown to being able to help insurance in pretty much every niche, every vertical there is out there. At a time, we actually ran ads for agents, but really in the last 2.5 years, we've pivoted to a more consulting and course and teaching route. And the reason we did that is because we felt we could reach more people. There's already other people out there that have agencies, but there weren't too many people that could have the business model to be able to teach it. And to be honest, I feel like that's a gift I have. I don't know why, because I was like an awful student in school. I was probably like my teacher's worst nightmares, but
Me too.
for some reason I must have patience or something, but I'm able to teach it really well, I feel like. And so we switched to the model of teaching so we can help a lot more agents. And so for the last 2.5 years, we've been teaching, starting off with Facebook ads, but that's molded and developed into teaching people everything about advertising in general. So just understanding what advertising is, digital marketing, but how that also plays into other advertising things you're doing, and really understanding, the customer, their pain points, their desires, being able to really think where your customer is in their mind at a certain time. Because, I've along with like learning the buttons and levers inside all these ad platforms, like I think that's somewhat important. But my philosophy when it comes to marketing, I would say more than anything, I would call myself a copywriter. I've spent a ton of time researching and learning that side of things. And with all of my experience, I feel like that drives performance so much more than the buttons and levers that get pressed. And so a lot of what I do and I teach, I emphasize that and strain that the clients that I work with and all of my customers, and even with my free stuff, I push that over the tips and tricks, because that's going to last you longer. Learning that skill is going to last you longer. And just being able to understand that point of view and understand your customer is going to help you not only in marketing and advertising, but also in sales too. And starting the point of the sales cycle really with your advertising and carrying it through to the actual sale where you're talking to them. That's kind of my whole philosophy. So teaching that, then going along with going into funnels and then driving traffic with paid ads like Facebook ads, YouTube ads, and Google ads, and even LinkedIn here and there.
That's awesome. And it's very needed and incredibly relevant, I feel, for an insurance agent's life today. You mentioned you kind of look at yourself as more of a copywriter than anything. For anybody that's watching this that might not be familiar with the term, How would you define a copywriter?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would define, and probably all of the people I've studied would define copy as sales in ink or sales in writing. And even tying in like the creatives, like the images you use into that, but most of it is like the writing portion of it. So that's why I said copywriter. So copy is the actual wording that gets used. I mean, you use copy, everybody that's in business uses copy all the time. They just don't realize they're using it. And so because of that, they typically aren't doing a very good job of using it. But writing a Facebook post, right? Writing an Instagram caption, writing something on a landing page, writing an ad, all of that is copy. Writing a script for a YouTube ad, all of that is copy. And it's the content that really goes into what drives the advertising.
Yeah. And it makes a lot of sense. So I really wanted to kind of dive into some of the nuts and bolts of some of this stuff, of course, without giving away the whole farm, of course, as much as you're comfortable sharing. So I have seen the last 2 to 3 years an influx of insurance agents running ads specifically on Facebook, right? I feel like that's where everybody is trying to get into and play. I have personally found that I feel like sometimes it makes a more crowded pool, right? And there might not be as much room to, move your arms around while you're swimming. Doesn't mean it doesn't work. I mean, it definitely works very well for a lot of people, but why is it you feel that agents are so infatuated, if you will, with Facebook ads, but they don't really pay much mind to the other stuff as much that's probably just as important, if not more so, like the SEO, the YouTube ads you mentioned, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I don't, it's funny you asked that because not in a, like just looking at the market and when it got popular, I truly feel like it coincides with when we started my YouTube channel and we gave away a ton of free info on how to run your own Facebook leads using like Facebook lead forms. And when we came out with those early 2019, I even heard from some people like lead vendors that that's when prices went up. So I think that
You're responsible.
I don't want to take credit for it, but there have been people that told me that on the one hand, I've helped a lot of people with the free content, but on the other hand, I've heard a lot of lead vendors out there that had a grip on that market. But
right.
I think like it's a mix between that, like not only me, but other people, I think you probably have as well, put out free content to help agents. And
yeah,
I love doing that, but it's also, you got to realize when you're putting out free content, the people that are going to watch it and stick around, they don't always want to stick around for like some 4-hour technical how-to video. So it's about what can we get somebody some good results with a 10 to 20, maybe a 30-minute video. And I think the natural thing that everybody focuses on with that is Facebook lead forms, because they're very, very simple. They're very simple to get started. Facebook's a really great platform because anymore the algorithm does all the work for you. So as long as you can come up with some sort of copy, and these days most people doing lead forms find their copy from other places and they just tweak a little bit of it, which may not be the best in the long run to do, but it'll get you some results up front, makes it pretty easy. Take it from a direct mail piece or somebody else that's running an ad. That's what I see people doing a lot. But then the great thing about Facebook lead forms is you don't have to learn how to build a website. You don't have to learn how to build a landing page. You don't have to also then study conversion optimization. You know how to get that landing page to convert, because the best marketers in the world, Facebook, have already done that with their own lead form. So it's a very easy place for them, agents, anybody wanting to get into digital marketing starts. And then I think from there, like they're able to replace lead vendors or figure out that, okay, these are the same leads I'm getting from lead vendors, so I'll just go back to the lead vendor. But, and this is kind of my mission recently within like the last 6 months, is to let people know and make other agents realize that that's not where you should stay. Like that's a perfect entry point into digital marketing, but it's not the end all be all. And like I hear agents say all the time, internet leads and digital leads. And when they talk about that, they're only talking about these forms, these leads that have been created using what I just spoke to you about.
Yeah.
And there's so much more to digital marketing out there that you can do to make somebody into, an inbound appointment. If you like inbound calls, or even just a much higher intent lead. And I know the word high intent gets sent around a lot, but I mean, you can even replace some of the sales process that gets said over and over again using funnels, taking people through different sequences. And there's so much more than just the Facebook forms that are out there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it gets pretty deep. I started really kind of implementing that into what I do with my business maybe about 2.5 years ago or something like that. And so I'm still kind of a baby with some of the stuff. I think I've gotten pretty good at a lot of the stuff on, just kind of teaching myself. A question I did want to ask you that I feel it was really interesting. I feel like there's a kind of an argument sometimes between people that, how do I put this lightly? But between companies that maybe, run digital marketing agencies to where like they're going to run your marketing for you and they're just like, pass it off to us, you don't have to learn. And then on the other side, there's people like yourself that put out, educational training courses and free videos and stuff like that to teach people how to do it themselves. Where do you think an agent is best off? Do you think they're best off outsourcing it to someone else and not really knowing much about it and just putting it in someone else's hands? Or are they better off kind of going through the trials and errors and stuff like that and the learning process to teach themselves? I was curious of your opinion on that.
Yeah, no, that's a really, really good question. And I kind of have two answers to that. I think it's easy, especially in the insurance world, in the insurance niche, for people to just outsource it and get it out of their plate because they're trained and taught to start out just by leads. And starting with that mentality, you're already putting your business in a position where it's just a job. Like you have no control over that part of your business. And really, when I look at a business, I break it down in any business, any industry, I break it down into like 3 separate parts. It's like attracting clients, it's converting those people into clients, and then it's servicing those people. And so if you buy leads, you have no control over that whatsoever. And it's so prevalent in the insurance niche that it's just the norm. But outside of the insurance niche, that's not the norm because the availability of leads isn't there. So people have to learn it. So I think the first thing I would say is, if you're thinking about outsourcing it, there's 2 different types of people. First of all, there's people that never will want to do it on their own, but you gotta, in my opinion, I think that you should at least know what's going on and have some understanding of everything in your business before you decide to hire somebody to do it or outsource it, especially if you view your business as a real business and you are a business owner. Now, if you are just like considering yourselves a salesman and you're just trying to like feed your pipeline and you never really want to grow it into some big organization, then maybe this doesn't apply to you. But for the people that got into this to create a real business that potentially you could grow to a point one day where it makes money, even if you're like, even aside from renewals, like new business keeps coming in, even if you aren't touching the business, like you could go on vacation for 2 months. And if the business brings in new business, then you've got a business that's working for you, right? And that's the end goal, at least for me and everybody that I take on and work with, is to imagine this is a business even outside of the insurance industry, like something that's going to work for you. So I think for people that want to eventually outsource it or know that they don't want to do it, I think marketing agencies are good options. But on the same hand, I think that you should at least have major control over the content and still be the one producing the content and working with the marketing agency to do that, because there's so much power in you being the face of your business, you understanding what's being said, you branding yourself, branding your business. So I think that that's so important. And then when it comes down to like my second answer, like I said, there's really 2 types of people. There's people that know that they, in the long run, don't want to be the marketing person. They don't want to run that. And then there's this second type of person that I don't think has been very prevalent in the insurance industry up until recently. But with the success of younger people, millennials coming into business and seeing a lot of success, I think that there's so much potential in the insurance industry for somebody to come in with skills such as marketing, running the business, hiring, managing people. And maybe they're not a strong salesman, but they could come in and run an insurance agency or create an insurance agency and partner with somebody that is a salesman and effectively have a very strong business and a very, very good potential niche. So if you're wanting to come in and build an insurance agency or insurance business and have it be essentially like marketing and advertising led, in that case, you definitely want to be the one that's doing it yourself. And I think that's a newer thing because, like I said, most of the people that have created insurance agencies up until probably the last 10 years were an insurance agent, had success as an insurance agent. They're mostly salesmen. And that's where like this entire industry has come from. But with digital marketing, and eventually there's going to be a time where you're going to be able to sell a policy without talking to a single person in general. So the salesman,
Right.
For certain things, I think that there's always going to be a salesman needed, an agent needed. But for some policies, they're not. And when that becomes more prevalent, you're going to see marketers flood this industry, and it's going to change.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that's spot on and very accurate. Like, one thing that comes to mind for me is like last year, I had the privilege of doing an interview with Danielle Kunkel-Roberts, Boomer Benefits. And,
Okay.
and I asked her kind of a similar question, and her answer was very similar to yours. Like they were almost like symmetrical, which, you both of you guys have a great understanding of this stuff. But what she told me was, and it stuck with me quite a bit. She was like, for me, what I did with Boomer Benefits, she's like, I got really good at the marketing myself, like the SEO. I studied it. I took the time. And then once I felt like I had a very good understanding and knowledge about it, then I outsourced it to save myself time. Yeah. And I think that's really, really like, if especially if you're looking to scale, that is so smart to me, because like, I think I heard Justin Brock the other day say, you should be involved in your marketing. You shouldn't completely pass your marketing on to someone else. You should be involved. You should essentially be wanting to understand what's going on behind it. And so that's kind of the approach that I've taken that I feel has, been helpful for our group is, I want to learn everything I can about this stuff, get really good at it. And then once I don't have time to deal with it anymore, then I'm going to maybe pass it off to another person. But yeah, like the answers that you gave and she gave were so similar. It's crazy. I feel like I'm a year ago talking to her.
Yeah. And like to add to that, it's hard for me to relate because I do sales right now in my business. I'm actually in the process of hiring some salespeople on, but I personally hate sales. Like I hate it. Like my favorite thing is marketing. And so for me, I think for any business owner, you should wear all the hats at some point in your business, unless you like start out and have partners that can do that. But at that point, you still have a business owner understanding a part of the business. And then what you should do is you should start by, when you start to scale or start to grow, you should outsource the things first that you don't like to do. So for me, I outsourced like admin stuff first, and then from there, it's going to be sales first. But then I was thinking about this the other day, and I was like, okay, well, most of the people I'm working with, they actually love sales. So I don't have the same brain as them. So I have to think that like, okay, they don't want to give up sales because they're good at it. It makes them money. They're probably afraid that anybody that they bring on won't be as good as them, which is like how I am with marketing. But the problem with that, and I don't think that it's a problem to the point where you can't scale your business or anything. But with me, marketing, if I retain and continue to do the marketing for my business as we scale and grow, it only takes me about an hour per day to manage my apps. Once I have everything up and running, then I can focus on managing my salespeople. I can focus on running the business. Whereas if you hold on to sales for a really, really long time, that takes up a ton of your time, and you don't have the leverage to be able to spend your time recruiting or training new salespeople or doing the marketing. So sales is such a high leverage activity that it makes it, I think, sometimes tougher for agents to scale when they're so focused and unable to give up that role and move into the CEO role.
Yeah, 100%. I think that makes a ton of sense. And like what comes to mind to me is like, well, if let's say there's an agent in their business and they're the best salesperson, right? They're the best closer, they're the best, producer, and they're afraid to bring other salespeople because they're like, no one can close the leads as well as me. No one can get most of the leads as well as me. But it's like you're only one person, and that's okay. I mean, if you are that guy in your business, you're a freak. Like not everybody's going to be like you. Just like you and your business, on the marketing side, it's probably very hard to find a Justin Thomas, to come into your business. But you have to be comfortable maybe relinquishing some of that control, and understanding that, while you can do it better than anybody else, like you need to focus on the most important things in your business.
Yeah, exactly. And I do want to like reiterate, like obviously we're talking about people that want to grow really large businesses. If you're just wanting to be like one or two person business, then a lot of this stuff's not doesn't directly correlate. But
right.
I mean, I do think at the end of the day, it depends on your goals. Like if your goal is to have a business that truly runs for you, renewals are amazing and that can really help you get to there. But if you want it to run for you and run and bring in new business and take care of like attrition and just continue to run without you being there, which I feel like a lot of people start a business so they can have some sort of passiveness, control over the schedule and things like that. In my mind, like I'd much rather go for a much larger business and revenue, get people in there that can truly systemize and automate it, work really hard for 5 to 10 years, and then have like true freedom and still own this business that's going to work really well. Because like to truly have that 100% passivity, you need to have other people that can replicate yourself and that you can bring in.
Right, for sure. I think that makes a lot of sense. Justin, let me shift gears over to a different topic. And I'm just curious what your opinion is on it, because I've heard a lot of mixed opinions on what I'm about to ask you. LinkedIn ads, where are they viable? What are they best used for? And are they valuable to integrate into what you're doing?
Yeah, that's a good question. We started messing with LinkedIn ads probably a year and a half ago, and I think that they basically stole Facebook. I don't want to say.
Yeah.
They copied like Facebook's exact interface. And one of my partners one time was like, hey, they were talking like to LinkedIn support and they were like, hey, this looks really similar to Facebook. Good job. And they like got super defensive. They were like, we didn't do this. It was funny. But they took like the interface of Facebook. So like running the ads should be easy, but I don't think that they have the data points that Facebook has. And so a lot of times they're really, really cheap to get in front of people. They're really, really cheap to just like the cost per thousand, all like the similar base metrics compared to Facebook, so much cheaper, but people just don't convert. And I think a big part of that is people just aren't on LinkedIn as much as they are on Facebook. And maybe it's been the markets that we've been trying them in. I actually see much better results with Facebook organic because it's still a platform where you can reach tons of people. Like you can make a post on LinkedIn and have it reach like 15,000 people without putting. And so, I said LinkedIn ads, but really if somebody has like a true B2B offer, just work it as an organic model. Just post content, interact with people, have conversations. Don't be like the lead vendors and spam everybody's inbox.
Slide into DMs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
You can slide into DMs. Like I actually am an advocate of that, but doing it in like a way that provides value and not just like, hey, here's my service. Do you want it? And then I'm going to message you over and over and over again until you respond. So
right.
Yeah, I mean, like there's definitely ways to be very, tactical about it and not just spamming people. But yeah, I think organic or LinkedIn is better for organic. We just really haven't seen a ton of traction with paid ads with LinkedIn to really make it a viable channel for anybody.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. And it's interesting, those platforms that have that organic reach like that, because I've started to try to get more active on LinkedIn. It was my New Year's resolution. And I've noticed that, with becoming much more active on the platform, that I'm like, well, shoot, I can put a post up and all of a sudden it's got 2,000-3,000 views or something like that organically. And I don't have a lot of followers yet because I just started building it. Maybe got like 800 followers or something like that. And so it's interesting. Like for you mentioned content creators, for people that are content creators, is there, let's say, it's a single agent within their business. They want to get into maybe creating content. Is there maybe 2 or 3 platforms that they should focus on over the rest of them at this point?
There's one they should focus on over every other platform ever, and that's YouTube. YouTube is my favorite platform. It has the organic power, but then it also has ranking power. So it's the only platform where you can make some sort of content and post it, and then 6 months later, out of nowhere, you start getting leads from it, and people are then starting to see it. Everything else is a model of people are going to see it right away, and then it dies, and nobody ever sees it again. So it's the number one place I'd recommend everybody going if they're going to take the time to do a content marketing strategy, which I think is absolutely a really good way to go, especially for starting out. And I would even, this is going to be contrary to what tons of people in the industry say, but if somebody's like looking to start an insurance business, even just be an independent agent, and they're like going at it part-time, I would rather them go to YouTube and maybe even build a Facebook group and do a podcast. Those would probably be my top 3. Facebook group, not a Facebook page, not Facebook profile, but you can probably share some of the content there. But actually building a group that's an asset that you own, which is also what I consider a YouTube channel and a podcast. Those are all assets that you own. I would much rather suggest somebody do that, keep their job and build that up over time, then you'll put that money and effort into leads, which I know is very contrary to what a lot of people say.
Right.
It'll take longer, but when you decide to quit, you'll have something that is an asset that is bringing you leads constantly. You don't have to just keep feeding money back in and then back out and worry so much about. It's easier on the sales process if you do it that way. It's a longer strategy for sure, but I think it's
And I think there's so much wisdom there, because that content just builds and builds and builds on top of each other, and it kind of just snowballs and it lives forever, and like that's what kind of how we started doing our content too. Like we started with the podcast. We did it backwards. We started YouTube too late. But we started with the podcast. It did very well. Then we started doing the YouTube channel with, video versions of the podcast and things like that. And then we have the second YouTube channel for Six Figure Medicare Agent, which that one's grown a lot faster because I feel like we learned a lot from the first one on, what to do, what not to do kind of thing. But I think there's so much wisdom in that, because doing it that way, you're going to have almost like this, library of content that's just going to be living on the most relevant websites and platforms. And they're going to come up in Google searches and things like that. And I think that's spot on advice there. Like I see some people, they're like, well, I'm really trying to leverage TikTok. I'm like, well, you don't have a YouTube channel. You don't have all this stuff. I'm just like, but TikTok's the one thing that they're doing. And I'm like, TikTok's awesome. I'm still trying to figure it out myself, but like TikTok's awesome. I'm not saying you shouldn't TikTok, but like, would I choose TikTok over YouTube? No, absolutely not. That's craziness to me.
Yeah, I think YouTube's such a big hurdle to people, because TikTok, you can just like pull out your phone, say a few things, and it doesn't have to be perfect. And YouTube doesn't have to be perfect, but it helps if it is. Or like if you learn editing. But at the same time, like these are skills that you learn that are really going to serve your business for the long run. And so I definitely think it's worth it. TikTok right now, to me, at least for like the agents that understand social media, people going to TikTok first, it's like somebody going to a casino, because if they do well, like they'll go viral and it'll work really, really well. Whereas like these other ones are more long-term plays and consistency and safer. So it's like, do you put your money in stocks or something a little safer, or do you just go straight to the casino and try and double, triple, quadruple your money right away?
Right.
Not money, but your time. That's kind of what TikTok is in my mind right now. If you don't have those other assets.
Yeah. Well, two more questions I got for you, Justin. I want to respect your time. Second to last question is, I don't know how much you've really followed anything that we've done, but I was wondering if you had any tips for me on maybe things we could do better with our content and our presence online, that kind of stuff. Selfishly, I wanted to ask you that question.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll give you some tips on basically what I've been doing for the last 6 months. Like, this is the main program I have, and where I'm trying to push everybody to is this program where we leverage video and funnels and email. Email list is another great thing, by the way. If you're doing YouTube, podcasts, all this, figure out a way to capture people's emails, because if you can grow an email list, that's going to be one of the most valuable things for your business. But I did look at what you were doing for AEP and how you had that video as an ad, and then you went to your calendar. So that's similar to what we do, but instead of that, what we do is we use ads to basically, the easiest way to describe it without going into like a full 20-minute pitch is it's digitalizing seminars by creating, either webinars or a shorter version of it, which I call a VSL. And then, so you create that video. VSL stands for video sales letter. So you create that video, which is effectively a video that is touching on pain points, and it's selling the prospect on booking an appointment with you. So instead of using that as the ad like you did, I would gate that behind a page, make somebody come, give you their email to essentially register for that video, so you can start collecting emails. And then the second page, they can watch the video. And then below the video, there will be a button to go to a calendar, and then they can book. And then from there, they become an inbound appointment for you. What that'll do is it's going to create really, really solid appointments, because people have actually watched this video. They know who you are. It's built rapport. But then all through that entire process, you're collecting emails, you're collecting all these other assets, you're collecting different segments where the pixel or the remarketing on Google, the remarketing tag can follow a person through this entire funnel. So if they've hit the schedule page, well, you can just retarget straight back to the schedule page at that point, because they've already seen everything else. So it gives you much more leverage to create different levels of your advertising than just always going straight to cold traffic. So I think take what you did, which was basically kind of the same idea, but just formatting it a little bit differently in order to capture some of these emails up front and start building the assets a little bit more.
That's gold. I appreciate you sharing that. That's really awesome. Last thing I wanted to ask you is, you obviously, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, you're a wizard at this stuff, right? Like you are a master at this stuff. Clearly, if anybody's gotten this far in the video and they haven't come to that conclusion, then you need to rewatch the video. But anything that you're currently offering right now? Do you have any like courses or programs that people can jump into to kind of really pick your brain on this stuff, or what do you have available right now?
Yeah, of course, man. Thanks. So I have 2 programs. One's called Lead Gen Fast Track. That's basically just going to teach you how to replace lead vendors and create these Facebook lead forms that we talked about at the beginning. That we made that very, very affordable, because we feel like we wanted to help a ton of people with that. So that one's only $100 a month. There's a $100 enrollment fee, so it's like $200 and then $100 after that. And then we have a more advanced program where it's kind of like a coaching program mixed with a course, and that one's custom to each client. Prices kind of vary on that one. So if you're interested in either of those, you can go to my website, insuranceadvertisingmasters.com. There's some info there. Otherwise, always, I actually still respond to people and love to talk to people. So you can always just jump in my DMs on Facebook and ask me questions there. And then on top of that, my YouTube channel, which is Justin Thomas. You probably have to type in Justin Thomas Insurance, because otherwise the golfer is going to come up for everything. But yeah, I've got a ton of free content on there. And like I said, I'm hiring a salesperson shortly so that I can actually get back to making content. I don't know if you, Christian, have looked at my channel, I get decent reviews, but I don't have a ton of consistency with my videos. It's because I just don't have time to make them, because I try and make them like really high production. So hopefully with this new salesperson coming in, I'll have a lot more time to make videos and continue and do interviews like this, because I love this type of stuff. So again, thank you for having me on today.
Well, I appreciate you coming on, and I've checked out your YouTube channel several times. It's awesome. Like, your videos are fantastic. And anybody that's watching this, you need to go subscribe to Justin's YouTube channel. I'm going to leave a link to it down in the description, as well as his website, for you, so you can check out his programs. And I check them out, guys, because you want to learn from somebody that's doing this at a very, very high level. And I don't know too many, if any, people that are doing it better than Justin is right now. So it was a privilege and a treat to have you come on. Really, I appreciate your time. I don't take that for granted at all.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. It was really good talking to you. And yeah,
you too. All right, guys. Well, if you enjoyed this video, let me know about it. Drop a like so more insurance agents just like you can find this easier. Comment your thoughts. Subscribe so you know when we upload. Hit the bell so you're notified when we upload. And we'll see you next time. Thanks so much for watching. Take care.